still Niger Delta Today, and today we had to take a trip away from the studio just to have an interaction with the Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads from Delta State. I'm talking about Dr. Charles Aniagwu, and we're looking at the more agenda of Governor Sheriff Ogborewori.
Hope you didn't say doctor. Oh, yes, the doctor.
We are looking at the fact that being the Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads, we're looking at the rural development aspect, and we want to understand how far has it been and what has been the achievement so far when it comes to rural development.
Well, thank you very much. For me to proceed to talk about what we are achieving with respect to connecting our rural communities, I think it's very important for me to make public my titles and the things I do, so that in the event that I also delve into other areas, you'll be able to understand why. I'm Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads, and Public Information. That tells you that I'm also in charge of information management in Delta. And with that position, I occupy a vantage position to be able to look at what other ministries, sectors are also achieving. Now, back to the question you asked, our government have been able to look at the states as a whole, and we believe that we'll have a whole lot of riverine communities, of course, you know, Delta, and then we also have quite a number of rural communities. And so in taking a decision as to how his administration, this time around I'm talking about Right Honorable Sheriff Francis Orowedo Ogborewori, the governor of Delta, how he intends to tackle the developmental needs of these different communities. We decided to split the Ministry of Works into two. One arm is in charge of urban and highways, that's urban roads and highways, and the arm that I'm saddled with the responsibility of overseeing is saddled with the responsibility of the development of roads in rural communities and of course in the riverine coastal communities. And what we have done is to be able to see how do we start from the budgeting process to be able to tackle such needs so that we do not have a one-sided developmental initiative. So in the first instance, the government started with 1 billion naira per local government for intervention. That is not the only budgetary provision for such local government, but that is to be able to open up roads that must be within that particular local government, in addition to other projects. And thereafter, in the course of the preparation for the 2025 budget, sometime in August last year when we started in 2024, the governor directed that we should take it a notch higher. And having seen the effect, the very positive effect of the first initiative of budgeting 1 billion. And now this time around, we're directed to make it, to up it. And we're able to take it to as much as 2.1 billion to still deal with such intervention of connecting our rural communities and making them to be able to have access to either their farmlands or where they live or where they do business. That is what we have been doing, and that has given us a whole lot of results that today we can beat our chest to say that there is no local government that cannot say that they are feeling the impact of our rural connectivity. And we are doing that because we believe road to a very large extent provides access to business centers, either by way of markets, access to farms, access to even visiting your kids and kin. And I can tell you that as far as Delta is concerned, I think it's a model that every other state need to emulate.
Okay, let's also look at the aspect of the local government chairman, because we understand that when it comes to rural roads, it also has to have some form of collaboration or link with the local government chairman. Are there some cordial relationship or discussions with the chairman to ensure that they don't feel this is an encroachment into their own areas or into their own aspects of work?
Don't forget that every local government in the state, and so the governor governs the entire state. The local government are all eager to even get us to come and intervene, because of course you know the local government are not that buoyant to be able to construct very long routes. They may be able to take some feeder roads, maybe some 1 kilometer here and there, but the kind of roads we are building that will take as much as 1 billion, over 1 billion per kilometer, depending on the terrain. It's not what a local government can easily jump into, because of course they need their funds to be able to do a whole lot of things within their different communities, build small markets here and there, deseed some drains to avoid certain environmental disaster that could come on account of flooding, and of course, try as much as possible to also handle some local issues within their vicinity. The good thing about local governments in Delta is that they are completely independent. The governor allows them their funds, they are the one that manages their funds, they are the one that are involved in whatever developmental initiative they have, and that's why you could see some level of competition among the different local government areas in Delta. And so they are competing to see who can immediately invite the governor to come and commission projects. And we are seeing results on account of that. While for those of us at the state level, we will continue to ensure that the roads we build in these rural communities are organic. How do I mean? The roads emanate from the people. It is not just us feeling that these roads should be constructed. We get the critical stakeholders in that area to be able to suggest what roads they think have reasonable traffic count and to have impact on the life of the people. Because before now, you could see one big man, maybe because he's privileged to be in government, either as a commissioner, or he has an assembly member, or possibly an advisor, or perhaps he has occupied one big position before in government, having access to those of us in government and immediately attracting the project. And when he does that in time past, it is possible that road is just going to the girlfriend's house, the wife, the in-laws' house, or even his own other building or whatever. But we said no. Let us begin to build roads that unite the people. Because our governor, in the course of his agenda, says he's going to give opportunities to all. And in giving that opportunity to all persons, he has been able to see that every of our project is organic, such that if you are asking us to come and do a road within the local government, we will ask questions. We try sometimes to reach out to maybe the traditional ruler. We ask certain youth groups, is that road very relevant to you? The moment we have preponderance of affirmative response, we do know now that whoever has mentioned that road has done the right. But beyond that, there are sometimes, because we also have our officials in these different local government areas, we ask them to also help us hazard, for a suggestion as to which road they consider to have reasonable traffic count. So when they make such suggestions, we also examine it and then cross-check with the people who live in that local government for the purpose of taking a decision as to which of the roads to construct. So, to put it short, the local government chairmen are very, very happy about the intervention, and they are even all eager to continue to make requests in that direction.
Okay, but are there some other developmental strides of the governor in rural areas? You understand that in some states, the rural areas are usually ignored and sidelined, and so issues of marginalization usually come up. But are there some other projects ongoing in rural areas to ensure that they also feel the dividends of democracy even at the grassroots level?
Well, the governor is very, very clear in his mind that for you to be able to have peace, which of course will now engender some form of development, you need to be able to address the needs of the people. And in doing that, as one of his agenda, he has enhanced peace and security. And he now reasoned, how do I enhance this peace and security? It's not by just buying many guns or possibly restocking your armory, but that the best way to be able to guarantee peace is fairness, which is embedded in that opportunities for all, and of course also found in meaningful development. And in being able to give vent to that particular aspect of his agenda, the governor decided to take developments to the people. Today, when you go to the creeks of Delta State, you will see a number of roads that are being built. Today, we are reconstructing the Aniagwu Express, about 47 kilometer stretch. That is a road that connects 5 local government areas, largely rural and riverine communities. We have awarded contract for the construction of Bomadi Barigono, still linking rural and riverine communities. We have given life back to the construction of the Aniagwu Bridge. The Aniagwu Bridge links the good people of Ugelisa and their kids and kin in a Burutu local government, particularly Aniagwu and other communities. We're also working on a whole lot of places, whether it's in Obudubudu, in Obembiri, in Okuntu, in Ogulaha, and many other communities. We are building a whole lot of stretch of road and bridges to link the good people of Ode Shekiri, that is what we call the Trans-Warri Bridge. All those efforts are to let the people know that developmental initiatives are no longer left in the pipeline, that we have brought them to the floor and that people could see it. So you don't need to go to the pipeline by way of vandalism to be able to see the development. You now can see it on ground. But beyond what we are doing in riverine communities, we have also seen the need to expand other developmental efforts, the building of schools, the building of clinics and health centers. Of course, health centers are usually located in rural communities, because we believe that before you proceed to the secondary or perhaps the tertiary health facility, your ailment may be such that could be treated or handled at the primary health center, and which are usually either dispensaries or some form of clinics or some cottage hospitals. And that is why today we are revamping as much as 150 of such hospitals, largely in rural communities. If you go to Delta today, the governor has an initiative for both the members of the House of Assembly and the members of the Executive Council to be able to have what we call certain developmental initiatives. At the national level, you can call it constituency projects, because we believe that these people are from local governments. And we say, look, if you are giving one particular initiative, don't take it away from your local government. You must be within your local government. And that you should be able to see the needs of your people, which means you are not going to do it because you want to make money. It must be on the needs basis. And so all those things are being handled, all with a view to ensuring that the number of our rural communities are also reached. But beyond that, my sister, we are also carrying out some form of a human capital development by way of empowerment scheme, which we are running across the 25 local government areas of the state. And the choice of such persons that will benefit is usually almost like the same. So if, for instance, we say 10 per ward, these wards are both in the urban centers, but largely in the rural communities. So it means that if the man in Asaba, and possibly in Ward 9 in Asaba, is going to suggest 10 names for such empowerment, the man in far-flung ward in Burutu, in Bomadi, and any other local government for that matter, either Warren or perhaps in Isuku, or any other local government, maybe in Okben, is also going to bring the same number. Once you do that, you have the same amount of number. Sometimes we make them 3-3, and that gives about 810 because we have 270 words. So we do that so that every person is able to have opportunity beyond the issue of the overbearing influence of individuals who may have become what you may call Iroko in the political arena. So the governor reaches out to the people, and to a very large extent, it accounts for the amount of peace and security that we have in Delta today.
Well, you made mention of the creeks earlier in your explanation, and it takes me to the fact that Delta State, over the years, has skyrocketed, I would like to put it, away from being the fourth in oil-producing states, and it's topping the list when it comes to production of crude oil in the Niger Delta region. How did this come about, and what is the plan for sustainability to ensure that this keeps up and issues of vandalism are totally put to rest?
Before now, some 10 years or before that time, the pipelines were centers of attraction to our people who had to agitate for what rightly belongs to them to come back to them. And we reasoned that what was it that was attracting people to the pipelines, that was making them to vandalize the pipelines, causing havoc to both the state in terms of environmental devastation, and at the same time also reducing the resources that are supposed to accrue to the federal government. And in our finding, we discovered that because a whole lot of promises were made in the past and they were not kept. And those promises of the kind of development that they ordinarily should have on ground, they were told whenever they asked that don't worry, it's in the pipeline. Perhaps pipeline figuratively may mean it's in the works and it will come. But the pipeline sounded very attractive because they were seeing the pipe, and they now said, okay, if these developments are in the pipeline, let us just go and bring it out, since it was being delayed by those who made the promises. And so they saw the need to continue to tamper with the pipelines. They vandalized the pipelines to see how much crude they can possibly have access to, sell it, or possibly refine in a much more local way, artisanal refining, and then at the end of the day, they're able to mobilize some funds to deal with some of those little challenges they have in their different communities. When we saw that that was the reason why the pipelines were becoming quite attractive, as a government, we started, even starting from the last administration, to begin to match promises with action. We will do this road for you. They will say, no, you will not. They will say, just trust us. And they saw that the road is being done. And then they started now focusing on the road rather than focus on the pipeline. But moreover, he came on board and, of course, did not only sustain that developmental initiative, now deepened it by now making it to become much more organic. We ask even this time around, we ask the people question, which of the rules is important to you? Which of the other facilities? Is it health center? Is it school that you want? So the people are somehow from the back end are brought into governance. So governance in Delta today is not left to the exclusive presence of those of us who are in government. Even as a commissioner, today you are aware that we have what we call whistleblowing line. Through the whistleblowing line, we're able to make governance much more participatory. We're able to bring in our people to ask questions. We're able to get them to begin to interrogate some of the actions of those of us who are privileged to be in government. And knowing that that person who is not in government, who reached the governor directly through the whistleblowing line, of course, it should become a check on you that you may oppress them in the community, but you will not oppress them in the course of the communication to the government. So that whistleblowing policy has also helped to, number one, moderate the excesses, possible excesses of those who are privileged to be in government or position of authority, and at the same time, take power to also to the people who may not have been elected or who may not have the long legs to be able to walk into the government house. Now, government house and the governor is just a click away. All you need is pick up your phone and send a text message or WhatsApp to the whistleblowing line. Would you know the shocking thing about it? The governor in most of the instances calls the people direct. Once you send in a message in some few minutes or hours, like his that line, the governor looks at it. If it's something that requires a whole lot of action immediately or further interrogation, the governor responds by himself. So you know the implication of that. All with a view to taking government to the people. And my sister, I can tell you, we're enjoying that because we are seeing the fruits. If you also, as a contractor, you decide to go and connive with those who are supposed to supervise you and embark on a journey of shady job, the whistleblowing line is available to expose you. Those who live in that community who are supposed to be beneficiary of the project, who knows quite well that their money is what's supposed to be working for them, of course, pick up their phone and then a picture of whatever you're doing. And we have been able to sanction a number of contractors thanks to the whistleblowing policy of the Gururi administration.
But then how sustainable is this, considering the fact that there has to be monitoring, there has to be inspection of these projects to ensure that the people at some point do not feel they were lied to or this was just an early bait to just get them off the creeks? Are there plans set up to ensure that there's continuous and frequent monitoring of projects in those communities to ensure that the people still feel they are part of the government?
The governor was not forced to introduce that policy. He introduced it by himself. He introduced that of determination to get things done the right way. And if you are, for instance, a commissioner, saddled with the responsibility of monitoring or perhaps supervising a particular project, this week the whistleblowing line reports about your project. Following week, the whistleblowing line reports about your project. The next week, the whistleblowing line reports about your project. Do you need anybody to tell that you're not doing your work? So the moment the governor calls you, say, I learned that that particular road, that particular school, that particular hospital, that particular housing project is having fraud. And then next week, the governor calls you. Do you need anybody to advise you that that is not good for your records? That the governor should not be the one telling you that your projects are not being properly handled? The reason why you're a commissioner in the first place is just to supervise projects. You initiate, working with the governor, and then after the project has been initiated by way of contract awards, you begin a process of supervision through the different ministries and agencies, those who work with you. It is up to you to give them directives. I am here today, but as at this morning, before even coming for this interview, I've had cause to give certain directives to some of the staff in my ministry to say, please proceed to social place, please go and tell me, let me see, and then give me feedback. Yes, it's true that because of the number of projects, I may not find it easy to visit them on day-to-day basis, but government has also equipped me with a number of persons to assist me. So if, for instance, a project under a particular person is not doing well, and I get embarrassment on account of that project because the whistleblowing line exposes that person, and the governor now gets angry with me, you'll be rest assured that I'm not going to go and buy a piece of cake and make it available to that person who is supposed to be supervising the project. I will also take the hammer down to that person. And so, woe betide that person if that number of complaints continue to come. Government and the law has given us enough power to be able to take actions. Those who work for government are employees of the people. The people have given the governor the mandate to preside as the managing director of a company called Delta. And if the managing director decides to deal with the other directors of the company, in which case the commissioners, the directives as to what to do, it is up to those directors of the company to know that there are other supervisors in the company, and then there are other managers down the line who should be able to perform certain responsibilities. So if they are not able to proceed to perform those responsibilities, the same law that gave us that power to preside over them clearly empowers us to be able to take necessary action. Don't forget, the Englishman that produced pencil was reasonable enough to also equip it with an eraser on top of it, so that once you write wrongly with one end, you turn it the other end and then you erase it. So those are some of the things that are available in terms of the powers that you have as somebody who should be able to supervise, even as the government has the power to appoint and also sack you.
Okay, but let's look at the economic aspects now. What has been the achievement so far, and what other policies are in place to ensure that subsequently the economic hardship experienced nationwide, there's some form of alleviation for the people, especially those in the rural areas?
Every now and then we make bold to say that we are solvent as a state. It is not all the time that you hear a state saying that they are solvent, and I know that you know what that means. We did not become solvent because they are pouring so much money on us. We became solvent because our governor has come to demonstrate a whole lot of prudence and accountability in the management of the resources of the state. Today, we look at projects before we award them, and once we award them, we make sure that there's some form of level of reasonability in the costing, so that we are not just throwing money at projects. And so that has helped us to be able to save funds. When people work, we pay them, and then we're able to also save enough funds to be able to reach out to communities. In terms of the economy, our state today is quite vibrant, and we have become very vibrant on account of the very developmental initiative of the administration. When you award a road contract, even if the contractor is from Kenya, for instance, or is from Germany, he's not bringing those who are involved in the business of welding from Germany. Those who are going to do the iron binder works or whatever it is, they are from our different communities. The people who are going to be involved in the mixing of the different aggregates for the construction of for them to embark on concrete works, either drains, culverts, or the likes, they are from amongst our midst. Apart from the fact that they are paid, the cement and other things we are buying are bought from people within our different communities. The irons and all those things, what does it mean? It means there is what we call remote consequences of such actions, and then there's also a ripple effect of such expenditure. So in the event that we now say we are paying 15 billion to a particular project, the rest assured that a reasonable amount of that billion will still end up in the state, because you need the manpower to either drive your articulated vehicles, operate them, be they the trucks or the dozers or whatever equipment, moving equipment that you are going to deploy for the services that you are going to render in the course of that construction. In the area of, for instance, of building houses and structures, you are not going to go to Lagos to go and bring the blocks. You have to mold them in Delta. And it is human beings that are involved in the molding. Even if you are going to use prefab, that's one that you fabricate in one corner and then you just come and leave. Those who are involved in the business of the prefab, putting it together and then coming to make it, are also from our midst. So at the end of the day, large portion of these amounts goes back to our people. It is only when you are not involved in a whole lot of commercial activities as a government that you end up not having money. The best way to pump money to your people is not by bringing palliative and they say, okay, you take 20,000. No. When they earn it, they spend it wisely. When they earn it, you are able to also reduce inflationary trends. But when you come and say, I have 1 billion, go and give them 100,000, you would have been able to shift the inflationary level a notch higher, because there is no iota of work that is attached to that effort. And so that is why for us, the larger part of funds that we push into our economy is getting people to work for it. Because when they work for it, they become much more responsible in spending such money that may have been available to them.
How about the future plans? What should the people look forward to seeing subsequently? And considering the fact that the governor has defected to the All Progressives Congress and he made it clear that this is for the interest of the people, what are the people looking forward to seeing in subsequent years, in subsequent months, coming from the more agenda
From where I sit and the position I occupy, in all honesty, I can see greater heights. How do I mean? Apart from the fact that Oborowori is huge or heavy in terms of project execution, now we are in a position to get the federal government easily to come and also assist us. Whether no matter what anybody says that the federal government is for everybody, yes. But even when they bring something to your home and say go and share, you share to your children first before you remember that your neighbor also have children. It's a natural thing. When Jesus Christ was having the Last Supper, he held it with the 12 disciples. That does not mean that they were the only people existing in that community, but they were the one closer to him. He interacts with them. He gives them instruction. There is a saying in my place where I come from, that if you are involved in the business of rabbit hunting, it is the leaves that are closer to the rabbit hole that you are going to pluck to block the rabbit hole. You don't go looking for leaves from outside. So what it means that the moment you are in the same political platform with the center, there are certain other advantages. They are natural. It's not a question of saying somebody is biased. In any case, in human existence, equity does not exist. The only thing that exists is fairness. You cannot achieve equity because you have your own human foibles. But you can be fair to people. Maybe when I give this person, I give this person. But what if I give you first before I give the other person? If I give you first and later I give the other person, that is fairness. But if you want to talk about equity, then you must give us the same time. So that they will, like economists will talk about ceteris paribus, all things will now become equal. But the moment I give you first, which means you can start running, you are doing so many things, you could achieve many things, then sometimes it's also possible that when I give you first, the person I have not given to now learns a lesson from how you deploy your own, and you may make mistake, he now learns from your mistake and then use his own better. Then where is the equity? But fairness means that I've given you and I've given this person. And so you can only be fair. So once you are on the same platform with the center, there is the tendency that you are going to be fairly treated much more than those who are operating from the flanks.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Niger Delta today and sharing insights about activities of the governor as well as your plans for the rural roads. But before I let you go, what would you like to leave behind as a legacy for people?
What the government of Right Honorable Oborowori is leaving behind and is putting on the ground is number one, effective management of resources of the people of Delta. That effective management entails a whole lot of things. It means ensuring that the people are getting value for money on all fronts. It means also that it's also uniting our people to become much more knit together, so that when we say one Delta, it will be both in deeds and in spirit. And so, by the time, by the grace of God, is done with governance, first in the first tenure in 2027, and by the grace of God in the second tenure in 2031, the people would have looked back and said, thank God that once upon a time, we had a governor called Sheriff Oborowori. That will gladden our hearts as members of his cabinet and as his lieutenants. And I want to believe that that will also make his children to be very proud of the father that God gave to them. And so being able to govern, matching your words with action, will give you rest of mind, and that is who Oborowori is. Oborowori does not want to finish his administration and for him to be dragged here and there by anybody. He wants to be finished and be respected and be accorded that kind of recognition that a man who has done well for his people desires.
Thank you, sir, for coming on Niger Delta. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for staying with us on Niger Delta. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll conclude the program. Stay with us.